Hola amigos, yo soy su nuevo presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trump. Your ex-presidente, el señor Maduro, is no longer your presidente. He kept talking shit, and fucking around, and he ultimately found out, though. Anyway, we're going to make Venezuela grande again. Mucho grande. El bigger y el better than ever before. We're going to drill, baby drill. We're going to have a big, beautiful fiesta, all the tacos you want. Mucho mariachi, sexy mamacitas, and delicious margaritas. And President Trump is going to be el DJ, okay? Muchas gracias, muchachos. Y let's make el Venezuela grande again. Arriba el Venezuela, amigos.
It's not just the American election that people are going to find out that there were some problems. It starts off with the drug raid, but of course America works on narratives. We need a narrative to first move in to capture this motherfucker. There's a reason why I think he's having all these spit checks. I'm going to put on my conspiracy theorist hat. It's a possibility, let's say Maduro made a deal because he knows the hammer that's coming down, and China possibly could have gotten Maduro, left threats, or could have been begging for him not to reveal certain information after he get picked up with Trump. You got to understand, these guys have intel like we've never seen before. I got to talk like Trump. But the thing that I don't know is, what if he possibly made a deal, and that deal involves giving up all the information that we're going to find out about election fraud? People keep saying that I seem crazy about it. Well, I'm willing to put my face behind it and a video behind it to say that you're going to find out this has a lot to do with election fraud.
I can hardly wait to put forth all the evidence we have collected on Dominion, starting with the fact it was created to produce altered voting results in Venezuela for Hugo Chavez, and then shipped internationally to manipulate votes for purchase in other countries, including this one. It was funded by money from Venezuela and Cuba, and China has a role in it also. We have staggering statistical evidence. We have staggering testimony from witnesses, including one who was personally in briefings when all of this was discussed and planned, beginning with Hugo Chavez and how it was designed there, and then saw it happening in this country. As soon as the state shut down on election night and stopped counting, those are the states where the most egregious problems occurred. We also need to look at, and we're beginning to collect evidence on the financial interests of some of the governors and secretaries of state who actually bought into the Dominion systems to line their own pockets by getting a voting machine in that would either make sure their election was successful or they got money for their family from it. Well, for fraud this serious, I think even if the states are stupid enough to go ahead and certify the votes where we know the machines were operating and producing altered election results, then they will be set aside by the fraud also. I mean, we are talking about hundreds of thousands of votes. President Trump won this election in a landslide. It's going to be irrefutable.
So we have here a group of people that they are protesting because they want no more war in Venezuela. But all these people, there's nobody here from Venezuela. So from all these people, nobody is from Venezuela. This is people from United States, this is people from other places, but there's no people from Venezuela. And actually, I am from Venezuela. Andrés Bermúdez Portillo, from Maracaibo, Venezuela. I spent time in jail because of the regime of Nicolás Maduro. We have 25 years with a dictatorship. And right now, in the moment that somebody take attention of that situation, people decide to protest because they don't want war. So in the past 5 years of 30 million of people that live in Venezuela, more than 10 million leave the country. So these people is right now protesting because they don't want that we, the Venezuelan people, recover our freedom.
In July of 21, actually before that, we told them in June, we told them that we suspected, from what we're seeing, 25,000 plus counterfeit, inauthentic ballots. That was early on in the process. Again, because of propaganda by the GOP's attorney, the GOP, other conservative operatives, they planted the seed inside this that you can't trust that, no, that's not it, etc. You'll hear more about it. But every one of the people up there knew this in advance, even of this hearing today. Now, the reason I bring that up is they had well over a year and a half to react to this so it wouldn't be duplicated in 2022, but they didn't. They did nothing, and they allowed it.
And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ann Vandersteel. Welcome to Steel News. The revolution is on. That is the title of today's show. We're going to be talking about discovery, resources, and the collapse of insulated power. I want to bring up on the screen here some of the stuff that I think is going to be really critical for the show today when it talks about where we're going. But this afternoon, I will be joined by Adam DeRito, Colorado congressional candidate, to talk about constitutionality, accountability, election transparency, and why, noting that voting systems are no longer enough. We are now demanding discovery because the revolution is on. I want to get started first off at the top of the show with an important post I put up. It is pinned on my X right now. It is about a press conference. And this is really important because this is going straight out to the MMTLP community and additionally the GameStop community, GME, the AMC community, Bed Bath Beyond, and of course, the Trump Media and Technology Group, TMTG, the folks that own Truth Social, those communities. These are all communities that have been negatively impacted by naked short selling. And this press conference is for them and for every American who has been harmed by government agency collusion with Wall Street. We are a go for the press conference. It is this Monday, January 12th, coming up next week, 10 a.m. outside the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission headquarters. That is the SEC. In Washington, D.C. on 100 F Street Northeast. We're going to have a hell of a press conference. We've got the space for about an hour and a half. This is about transparency. It's about accountability. And it's about ending regulatory capture once and for all. So please share this information. Go to my X profile at Ann Vandersteel and share this far and wide. And now let's talk about why this moment matters. Because revolutions don't begin with slogans. They begin with discovery. And over the last several days, I want to move some screens around here because I want to keep up pace here for you guys. But before I forget, I do want to play this. I think this is kind of cute. Hang on one second. This is from Glass Guy. I don't want to leave this out because he does a great job. And here we go. This is a video he put out.
Do you know about the trading halt of MMTLP and if shares were counterfeited or involved in naked short selling?
Under FINRA's rules, they issued the trading halt. They didn't contact me. My phone isn't even working. Are you looking into FINRA and their rules? I think we look at them annually. We got a whole division headed by Jack Chase. I almost got through that one without laughing. So if I'm hearing you correctly, there is an investigation?
I can neither confirm or deny or confirm that I'm denying the things that I confirm.
If there is an investigation and it shows wrongdoing, will you let Congress know the results? When we bring enforcement to criminals, it's up to them to tell you if they want to. Have you ever actually caught a criminal? So we got a great system. We let them do the crime for many, many years. And then, when they self-report their crime, we make them pay a small fine, and they admit no wrongdoing. So I'm assuming you take away their ability to do the crime again? If we did that, and we got rid of all the criminals, who are we going to collect fines from? That's all the time I have, but I'll be following up with you on this matter. This has been great. Always a good show. A couple times you almost had me. Let's do this again sometime. Text me.
Thanks, Glass Guy. That is an epic meme. He does great memes about the MMTLP fiasco. I love pulling up the feed in the morning and seeing all the stuff he's done the night before. Kudos, great job. And now on to the news, because this is, in fact, all building up. It is all connected. So over the last several days, events have accelerated quietly, strategically, and across borders. I did speak to somebody who reports to Pete Hegseth yesterday about what went on in Venezuela. It was a flawlessly executed operation. But again, because all these things are connected, one is actually involving a U.S. courtroom forcing discovery into election systems once declared untouchable. I wrote an article about it over the weekend, and it talks about what's going on in Wisconsin, and it connects what happened in Venezuela together. And of course, this other story, what's happening in Venezuela, its leadership under unprecedented pressure, its assets suddenly reframed, and its role in the global power structure coming into focus. So let's talk about why Venezuela matters. Look at this post by Kobayashi's letter. 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas reserves, 34th largest in the world. 300 billion barrels of crude oil reserves, largest in the world. 4 billion tons of iron ore reserves worth nearly 600 billion. 8,000 tons of gold resources, the largest in Latin America. 500 plus million tons of coal reserves, 2% of the world's total renewable freshwater resources, and untapped strategic minerals, including nickel, copper, and phosphates. Venezuela is now a strategic asset of the United States. This is another important post that came out from Kobayashi. Absolutely insane, where he talks about the billion barrels of crude oil reserves, which Trump says now has U.S. control. We're sending our U.S. strategic companies in there to bring their oil production up to modern day so they can actually get the oil out of the ground. And with oils trading at $57 a barrel, it makes their reserves worth about $17 trillion. And even if the U.S. sells this oil for half of the market rate, that's still $8.7 trillion. In other words, in 12 hours, our country has actually gained control of oil reserves worth more than the entire GDP of all countries in the world, aside from the US and China. 4 times larger than Japan's GDP. Most people don't realize how much the world just changed. Oil markets will react to this news for the first time on Sunday at 6 o'clock. The next few days will be critical. So this is a big deal. I mean, it is a seriously, seriously big deal. And now there's another image that's been circulating out on X. I want to show this to you because this is, I think, kind of telling. Whoops, what did I do with it? Here it is. This picture right here, this guy, Nicolas Maduro. This is showing Venezuela's leader in custody. He seems to be projecting a calm, even satisfactory sort of disposition with 2 thumbs up. But the circumstances and the authenticity remain unverified. But I'm going to say this: the signals matter, optics matter, especially when pressure is applied, right? So history does teach us a few things, right? When individuals who sit at the center of opaque systems face leverage, like this guy, his cooperation is his only currency, which brings us to elections, right? Because as you've seen me, I had Emerald Robinson on last week. She talked with me, and she talked about the work that she's done with Patrick Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock. They have both been reporting on foreign whistleblowers, some from Venezuela, who alleged election technology platforms such as Smartmatic and systems later associated with Dominion were designed with capability to alter the vote outcomes under certain conditions. So essentially, not every election is stolen, right? But we can safely say now, with all the evidence that we have, that not only have elections been manipulated, they've been stolen. And the allegation that election technology laundering occurred through Venezuela's Smartmatic, inserting itself into Sequoia systems, which was later acquired by Dominion, has created what one might consider layers of insulation across borders. But here comes the escalation, right? President Trump talking about retribution right here. Look at this. This, I think, is incredible. President Trump just posted this on Truth Social that the CIA launders elections with technology like Smartmatic and Dominion through Venezuela. Smartmatic inserted its tech into Sequoia, then Sequoia was bought by Dominion. He says retribution is coming. There's a great video here that's on this. I highly encourage people to play it. I've actually cut a segment out of it for the cold open that we played this morning. But that statement also lands alongside a FOIA-obtained email first reported by John Solomon. And if you look here, this was posted by Real Robert. He's talking about the damning email by King Solomon. Well, John Solomon is really King Solomon, according to Robert, but that's cool. Through the FOIA process, and it confirms that the Central Intelligence Agency conspired and succeeded in the overthrow of the United States government on November 3rd, 2020, our election. In the stunning exchange, CIA Director Mike Morrell turns to fellow Director John Brennan and asks if he would join in toppling the United States government during the November 3rd, 2020 election. Brennan not only agrees, but he also expresses his gratitude. CIA Director Mike Morrell, quote, "Can I add your name to this list? We'll be adding Leon Panetta, Sue Gordon, Jay Johnson, George, Lisa Monaco, and Mike Rogers, and working on adding Dan Coates, Mike Rogers from HIPSI, and Tom Bossert, and lots of other intelligence community career folk, trying to give the incapacitated vegetable, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump and the issue." These guys who rigged the 2020 election knew Joe Biden was an incapacitated vegetable. They call it out in their own email. CIA John Brennan, okay, Michael, add my name to the list. Good initiative. Thanks for asking me to sign on. So here you have a list of the 51 intel officers who overthrew the United States government, starting with Jim Clapper, Michael Hayden, Leon Panetta, Brennan, and on down the list. I mean, this is, again, another post. You can go find these on X, but it's just so...
Just before the presidential debate between...
I think we're playing the video. Okay. So that being said, it is unbelievable that, you have this out there and is coming out in spades, and it's coming out like a fire hose right now. And this, of course, is right after we picked up Maduro. So Mike Morrell actually, believe it or not, later testified that such conduct would be unethical and inappropriate. Yet by his own words, and the documentation I have on the screen right here shows it occurred. So essentially, this wasn't just 51 formal officials acting independently. This is evidence that indicates CIA leadership approval. Mike Morrell, John Brennan, in violation of the agency's domestic non-interference mandate, meaning they cannot interfere in our elections. FBI Director Kash Patel has since stated that the CIA has a legal mandate to never interfere domestically, especially with partisan politics. This letter that I just showed you has shown that that mandate was broken. And once again, Discovery changes everything, because Discovery does not care about rank. It doesn't care about reputation. It cares about evidence. And as a friend reminded me, this is about balkanization, right? Let's talk about balkanization for a quick second here, because balkanization means, and this is the term, I'm going to read something directly out of a definition of this, because I want to make sure I nail this for you guys. But this comes from, and I looked up the history of the word, because I said balkanization. I understand in theory what it means, but where did that word come from? Well, it comes from the Balkans in Europe, where large empires, especially the Ottoman, broke apart into smaller ethnic, religious, and political states. So what is happening right now is the forces that are behind this election interference are actually are trying to balkanize the United States. They don't want us functioning as a single sovereign nation. We know the New World Order has been coming after us to roll us up in there, but they have to take us down. They have to break us down, right? Think of it as like waterboarding your captive. You're going to waterboard them until they break down and tell you what you need to know. Well, they've been trying to do that by basically getting our power to totally devolve into regions, states, city-states, and basically ideological blocks. And they've done that, right? They've divided us between race, sex, gender, whether you believe in yourself as a cat, a dog, a toaster, use a litter box in your classroom, whatever. They have absolutely divided us across the country. It's been really quite remarkable. And so they really want us acting independently. What they don't understand, though, is that our Constitution actually supports states standing up on their own under the 10th Amendment and being who we want to be based on our own ideology. And that's why you have red states and blue states. But this is why they've been infiltrating with the open borders policies to send all those people into the red states to basically dilute us into a blue state so that they can continue to steal elections. So this is really, I think, quite extraordinary what's been going on. I'm actually rather encouraged by what's happening with the most recent events. I think Nicolas Maduro, I think picking him up and I think putting him, front and center in this Southern District of New York under a law enforcement maneuver where the military was asked to go in and assist. a country that, if you saw the Open, you saw that people are actually really excited that Maduro has been taken down. The folks in Venezuela, I know plenty of Venezuelans, they're thrilled Maduro has been arrested. But, the rumor is that Maduro has been arrested, yes, under narcotics charges, but really he's going to squeal. And probably a deal was done before, which is why he looks so happy to be sitting there with law enforcement in New York City. So I think we're going to see a lot of interesting things happen. And today, Tim Walz, under the pressure of what is going on in Minnesota, has now resigned from, or should we say, pulled out from running for re-election. So it is very evident that the cracks are appearing in the system of corruption, and we're starting to see draining of the swamp. We've got a long way to go. So I don't want to get anybody's hopes, and expectations that it's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take a while. But I think the information and depositions that we're going to get from Maduro so that he can, beg for mercy and get the best deal for himself and his wife is going to result in names of people inside our United States government, specifically inside of Congress, the U.S. Senate, and the House of Representatives, in addition to the intelligence community that had been behind the hostile takeover, the insurrection of the United States, and the theft of the 2020 election. It is all coming out, and we're getting the information, like I said, like a fire hose. So that is kind of a run through of what's going on. My guest today is Adam DeRito. He's a congressional candidate in Colorado. He's running on a platform rooted in constitutional limits, election transparency, economic independence, and restoring the principle that government exists to serve the people, not manage them. He has been outspoken about decentralization, citizen oversight, and ending governance by secrecy at a time when public trust in institutions has totally collapsed. I can't say enough about that because I rail on that every single day. We have zero trust in our institutions. Adam, it is great to see you. Thanks so much for being here, and welcome to Steel News.
Thank you so much for bringing me on, Ann. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so, I was talking to you prior to going live, but why run now?
Because we need Americans for Americans. And the problem is that we've been subjected to a system of bureaucrats and politicians that no longer care about the American people. They promise us they're going to change the system. They promise they're going to be out there for working families, our energy independence, and the American voters and our Constitution. And at the end of the day, we're still here left empty-handed and debating these things online. And if the government was doing what they were supposed to do, you wouldn't have a show. But here we are.
That's so true. I could go back to, I don't know what. I have to figure that out in my next life. I've given up so much to do this, but in the meantime, I'm having a ball because you know what? I like being the underdog, but I think frankly, we're going to figure out pretty quickly we're not the underdog anymore. We're no longer going to be the dog that's getting wagged by the tail. So your background isn't politics first. What specifically compelled you to step forward and run for Congress at this moment in history? I want to talk a little bit about your background because you told me something interesting about what you're currently doing with respect to the fact you're still in the Army Reserves, 440, the Civil Air Battalion, and you used to work for somebody quite notable, somebody still in the government, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in the military since I was 18, pretty much, with a 5-year break in service. I was with the 19th Special Forces Group as a parachute rigger. Then I was an intelligence analyst overseas when I deployed, and then I came back and earned my direct commission as a captain in the Civil Affairs Battalion. And Tulsi Gabbard was my battalion commander, who's an amazing woman. And I should say, nothing I say represents the United States Army or the Department of War, and all my thoughts are independent as that fact. So
good disclaimer. In fact, I know you're new to politics, so make sure that's the first thing you say when you start doing these podcasts. Number one, number two, and you never do them in uniform, obviously. So nope. Your thoughts are your own. You do not represent the United States. Okay. Constitutional limits. You've actually emphasized restoring constitutional boundaries. What limits do you believe have been most abused, and why should Americans, actually care? I mean, at this point, we don't have a constitutionally operating republic. We're sort of operating as a communist country at this point under duress. So why should we care?
We should care because that's what our founding fathers wanted. It's insane. And not only that, term limits for sure. I mean, the problem is these people get the intention of the Constitution was written, and for government was that you were supposed to be on your farm, go serve in government, be a good representation of the government, and come back to your family farm and then continue on and pass it off to the next generation. The problem is, especially after serving 20 years in a global war on terror and losing several of my friends, is that the people who sent us, these neocons, still think that it's the best policy that they should be be in charge. And we now disagree on that. It's time for real Americans to represent Americans, to uphold the constitutional values that we hold so dear, whether it's gun rights, the right to life, private property, and independence, and, getting away from government control. But here we are.
Here we are. Your platform, I was going through your website today. It focuses really a lot on decentralization. I am a huge proponent for we don't need a nanny state. So can you kind of walk us through how centralized power, whether it's federal, it's corporate, or it's bureaucracy, like what we're seeing with all of these agencies that are nowhere in our Constitution, how do they threaten liberty?
Well, they threaten it all the time, and I personally experienced this. I mean, you even see with John Brennan, what he did to John Kirkhow, one of my favorite intelligence analysts of all time, ruined his life because he spoke out about doing the wrong thing and torturing people, against what our values are. And for me, bold governance is super important. Get the drug trafficking out, get the human trafficking out, protect the kids from transgender surgeries. Just do your job. It's not that hard. But the problem is when you start getting payments from pharmaceutical companies and you're getting owned by the corporate entities that try to control our government, they no longer care about the American people. And that's what makes me different. Is I am a blue collar worker. I am an Army officer. I am a farmer, and I'm a substitute Catholic school teacher in my spare time, right? As I care about the community I live in, and we need real Americans to represent the American people.
I love this. For someone who's not a politician, you're very articulate and very well spoken. Where'd you learn these tools of the trade?
I mean, honestly, after my entire 15-year fight with the government, fighting for sexual assault victims, me being one of them at our federal service academies, I spent a lot of time on the Hill. I spent a lot of time on podcasts and news stories. And, I've been the plate carrier for this stuff. I've been shot at, across the bow for these issues and bringing accountability to our federal government and our Department of Defense /war. And they don't like it. These people do not like it when you challenge the narrative. And, it destroyed my career at a point in time, but I stood up and I won my case, and I came back and showed that, it's not the scarlet letter we should judge people by, it's their scar tissue. And these are the people that I want to work with is that the people that have been bruised, battered, man in the arena type thing. And those are the Americans that I think should be serving in government. And I'm one of them.
I love that. I love that. It's scar tissue. That's fantastic. Talk to me about economic sovereignty, because you have actually spoken about economic independence and local resilience. So right now, with all the agencies, and my audience knows I hate the agencies. We have so many big agencies that are just destroying sovereignty across all sorts of industries and the ability to, benefit from these industries. How do the current federal policies from where you're sitting undermine working families and small businesses?
And this is the biggest issue in my district. I am an oil and gas worker, and renewable identification numbers have destroyed my industry, have destroyed the refining process. All the drilling companies and service companies have pretty much left. Hundreds of thousands of six-figure paying jobs that don't require a college degree now no longer exist, right? I want to use Trump's emergency energy declaration to make sure we're going back to federal land and drilling. Colorado has the 4th largest oil and gas reserves in the United States, and now we're like the 10th largest in production because we've lost all that. That is liquid gold. That is independent economic freedom for families and blue-collar workers here in the state of Colorado, especially in my district. And now, because all these companies are leaving, they just want to raise your taxes and get rid of Tabor, which is our tax, bill of rights here in Colorado. And their solution is to tax people more and raise fees versus just using the money that we have underneath our feet to give us independence. And I want to bring that back.
So let's talk about this particular issue right here. American agriculture, supporting Colorado's farmers and ranchers. Your state has been massively under attack. Polis has just done a number on you guys.
Yes.
How are you going to fix this? What is your contribution going to be to help protect the Colorado rancher and farmer?
I just met with a group of ranchers who lost 58,000 head of cattle this year. That's millions of dollars to these family farms. That's millions of dollars of good locally grown food that is now not being sourced to the local Americans here. And now we're being forced to buy foreign beef. So one of my biggest things is I want MCOOL passed, mandatory country origin of labeling. I want to bring that back to make sure the American producer and consumer knows what they're buying, that the beef producers are getting a fair price, that we're making sure that these legacy ranchers and farmers, which is what built the state of Colorado after the frontier wars, can sustain itself. America for America first, right? And on top of that is the Prime Act, which is a major issue in this state. Ranchers should be able to sell intra-state and allow the local state convening authorities with the FDA to do the inspections and everything else. Right now, they're not allowed to do that. So they're forced to get undersold. They're forced to sell at a lesser price. They're forced to have less cattle because they can't afford it. And now, even because beef price is so high, they're losing their cattle and they're getting stolen. And no one even knows where these cows are going. Nobody cares. But when I show up to these meetings and I see these families are desperate to have a representative that actually listens to them, that also wears a set of cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, that lives in their community, that's what they're looking for. And that's what I want to bring back to American representation in Congress.
So how are you going to work with other members? I know you'd be a freshman, but how are you going to work with other members of Congress? And if you're having these are lofty goals, I think they're absolutely necessary, and I think they're attainable, but it's going to require a strategic partnership with people in addition to getting on the right committees. So who do you see yourself partnering with, number one? Number two, do you know anybody else that's running as a freshman congressman? And number three, what committee would you want to get on in order to start affecting some of the change?
Well, that's the funny thing is, like, over the last 15 years of my fights in Congress doing military justice reform, I've actually built relationships with Republicans and Democrats, senators and congressmen on both sides of the House already. So I already have I have personal cell phone numbers of Democratic senators on the Senate Armed Forces Committee.
Are any of them endorsing you at this time?
No, obviously not, because they're like, man, DeRito's throwing a grenade into the room and he's really going after it. I'm like, well, if we can't pass these bills, ladies and gentlemen, then I guess I'm going to have to go just do it myself. I'm not here to take a seat at the table. I'm here to flip the table, and I'm going to, right? But that's the thing. I've spent years developing these relationships. I understand, are we going to agree on social issues? Probably not. In the 38 years of my existence, I've never seen anyone actually resolve the abortion issue, gun rights issues. But we know what we can agree on. We can agree on American independence. We can agree on energy independence. We can agree on food sovereignty. And we can agree on absolute transparency. And that's what I want to bring to the table. I want to get on the Energy Commerce Committee. I think that's my number one priority goal. I want to get on the Transportation Board because I want to fix our critical infrastructure. That is the biggest thing with AI, power generation, electricity, oil and gas production out here. The airport expansion is massively important. Atlanta and Chicago O'Hare are the two largest and busiest. DIA, when they're finished their expansion, will be the largest and busiest airport in the country. And part of that airport is my responsibility. So it's time to upgrade the infrastructure, bringing more power, bringing nuclear, back into the state, and just making sure that the next 50 years of Americans are taken care of.
What about the current administration and the energy, plan that he's brought forward? Where do you see that? Is that helpful to your agenda? Are you going to augment that agenda? Is it not meeting the needs of the American people? Where is the current administration's energy agenda?
Well, and for President Trump administration, it's great. But the problem is that the local congressmen here are not implementing the powers from the Trump's emergency energy declaration. That needs to be fixed. We can write bills. We can bring funding back in. And yes, I understand at first I can only affect federal land drilling and things that go on federal land. But that doesn't mean I can't partner with state representatives to bring common sense environmental regulation reform. That's the biggest thing. Even the Democratic opponent going against my incumbent opponent, he's basically the Mondani of Colorado. This guy wants to get rid of everything. He wants to get rid of all the regulations and cut everything out and make everything electricity run. He wants to put electric heaters and electric stoves when this is a natural gas, propane, oil and gas state, when we have thousands of years of resources of that out here, right? So the thing is that the people just don't know. And these representatives just don't understand these industries. But I work in all these industries. This is my passion. This is what I have my master's degree in. This is what I want to do. And I think if we just have better congressional members that understand and work in these industries, we can make common sense reforms and we can reach across the aisle with people that don't disagree with us in order to ensure the safety and stability of the Colorado residents.
So let's talk about what happened over the weekend, because a lot of people said, oh, Trump just went in there to get the oil. I say, yeah, he's going to get the oil and he's going to help get that industry stood back up again. It's outdated completely. 50 years. They haven't done anything new to the equipment. I mean, it's correct. He's not wrong. I had, my family worked in the oil and gas industry. My grandfather was in that field for a long time. And I know he was literally, most of his body got burned when a well exploded. So this is, if you watch Landman, you know that's a fact.
I work there. Landman gives me PTSD watching that show. I'm like, I've seen that. I've seen that, right? So you are correct. And Venezuela has the largest oil and gas reserves in the world pretty much at this point. And the best part, it's right across from the Gulf of America. And we need to bring back the Monroe Doctrine, right? The best to ask, and utilizing less European interference and focusing on Western stabilization, right? Is that we have the refinement capacity. So it's really easy for us to put it on a ship, get it over back to our plants in Louisiana and Texas and sell those refined products. Because Venezuela currently, because they have such a decrepit infrastructure.
Heavy crude, don't they? I mean, do we have a refinery refineries capable of refining heavy crude like
We
Venezuela?
do, mine being one of them, the one that I work at, right? So we do have the ability to do it. Things might have to be shifted around, but one, it benefits the American people, it benefits the Venezuelan people. What we say in civil affairs, the three biggest ways to collapse a society is access to food, access to energy, and access to clean water. And if we can give the tripod back to Venezuela, stabilize their country, make them self-enriched like they were decades ago, that it's going to be create an amazing partnership and also deter China, Iran, and Russia from holding that influence which they've been trying to gain for years now.
Yeah, they have. I mean, do you think Cuba is next?
I don't think they have anything other than their cigars that really benefit us at this point. But it's definitely a symbol to them. It's definitely like, hey, we can come. The 160th. Shout out to the boys. Great job the other night. They can come in there and take you in the middle of the night at a very low fee. And it's amazing what happens when we take the leash off our American forces of what we're capable of doing. You know, we saw the entire global war on terror collapse over 20 years and the dismal pullout out of Afghanistan. And because we weren't allowed to do what we needed to do, President Trump has shown that if you let the boys off the leash, we can get the job done, get it quickly done. No more new wars, but we're sending a message, and that's what I support.
So getting back to what I said earlier, President Trump, a lot of people are saying this is all about oil, and you made a case for why it is about oil. But do you think that's the real reason they went and grabbed Maduro? Is
No.
the narco-terrorism? I mean, yeah, he's a narco-terrorist. And yes, listen, I've spent a lot of time on the border. I've seen what's going on down there. And
Yep.
clearly, you know, China's working with Mexico. They're working with Venezuela. Look, they're bringing the precursors. They're manufacturing the stuff and they're shipping it up here. And they're killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. There's no
Yes.
joke about that. However, I think it is a ruse about election integrity. What say you?
Absolutely. It definitely has to do with the Smartmatic and Dominion systems. And I
Okay.
think that is going to help secure our elections in the future. As being from Colorado, I'm for sure you're well aware of the Tina Peters
Tina
incident.
Peters.
Right? Exactly. Is that she was convicted by a jury of her peers, but there's no way that this woman should be in jail. When I see murderers and drug traffickers and human traffickers and child rapists being let off on less in the state of Colorado, it's disgusting. And we need a good, strong Republican governor to correct that issue, because even President Trump can't get her out of jail. And that's the state's rights versus, federal government right. That's just how it is. Republicans in the state of Colorado need to stop being the kings and queens of graveyards and actually pull their act together and represent conservatives. It's one of the reasons I'm running, is that I have tried to work with the Colorado GOP. I have tried to do the right thing and to be a constituent, and they won't do it. So now it's time to run and replace it. But also, when it comes to regional security, when it comes to election integrity and oil, it's also the rare earth minerals and everything else that's available in Venezuela that we're going to need for the energy boom and the AI generation that's coming up, whether we like it or not. I spent time in third world countries. I was working in Peru on humanitarian missions and all these other things. And I have seen what China is doing in building out shipping infrastructure, food infrastructure. We need to do that and get ahead of it, because we have been behind the ball for several years now. And Venezuela is a great way to increase those regional partnerships and counter China.
It certainly is. Well, from where I'm sitting and some of the sources that are coming to me, they're talking about getting, the should we say, the indictments and even maybe arrests as early as this spring based on what Maduro could be dropping. You think that's a reasonable timeline? I mean, from where you're sitting, if you're elected, what does accountability look like? Do we get subpoenas, audits, repeals? How do we move forward?
Well, that's what you want to elect me to do, Ann, right? And that's the problem, is that congressional members are not doing what they're being told to do by their constituents. I will. And that's like my fifth point of performance, as we say in the Airborne on my platform, is absolute transparency. You call my office, you're going to get a phone call back from me or one of my staffers. We're going to listen to people with reasonable things. If they come to me with solutions and not just their problems, that's what we want to do. Our veterans are being misrepresented. But yeah, the American people deserve action. And I think one of the biggest letdowns of this current administration is that we're not getting all the transparency and action that we can. If we can arrest the Venezuelan president in the middle of the night and get him back to the United States in a couple hours, we should be able to do the same thing to the corrupt people that are messing with our system in the U.S. government. And I'm sure you would agree with me on that based upon your opening, right? Hey, if we could do this in this country, why can't we do it here? We need more accountability. We need more transparency. And that's what I'm bringing to the office.
I love it. Now, I want to talk something that's very near and dear to my heart, children. You've got this letter that went out. It was a press release on December 17th. Talk to us about this press release, because you condemned Gabe Evans on a vote for HR 3492, pledges to protect children.
Yes, this is the biggest issue in my district right now, and it's one of the reasons that really kicked me off to want to run even harder than I am now, is because, yes, Gabe is a veteran. Gabe is a police officer, so Gabe should want to be able to protect children. He voted against this because he doesn't believe in criminalizing transgender surgeries of children under the age of 18. He doesn't believe that police officers should be arresting doctors and parents who allow this. No, that's exactly what we should be doing. We need accountability. We need a deterrence from allowing this to happen. And then his argument was, well, this was never going to pass the Senate and this was going to get vetoed by the president. I don't care. Be a moral and ethical person and vote for the right thing. And then his argument was, well, I voted for the other bill, the Dan Crenshaw bill, which defunds Medicare, Medicaid, transgender surgeries of children. Okay, that's great, but that's only one source of funding. And at this point, it just looks like you're protecting the system and you're not protecting children. And as an unapologetic conservative Catholic, there is no way I would allow this from a moral standpoint to be voted other than anything than protecting our kids and our next generation.
Amen to that. I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. I run a foundation, American Made Foundation, American Made Action, and our focus has been Child Protective Services. In fact, I'll break this right here on this show today. I actually mentioned on the space this morning, so it's not totally breaking news, but our own attorney, who's a board member, has just been had his bar license suspended by the New Hampshire Bar Association and by the nonprofits that work under the Supreme Court in New Hampshire, just as we were about to drop a federal lawsuit going after the state of Massachusetts and Texas over a case of CPS that, 5 children were taken. And it was completely done illegally, 100% illegally. In fact, the state it's like, really, they kidnapped the children. It's so cut and dry. In addition to the legislation that we've written, and we're working with some very big organizations to change legislation in CPS around the country. I'd love to present you what we're doing because we can raise the bar on the threshold for CPS, meaning 95% of the child protective service cases where children get taken don't meet a legal threshold to take the children. Case in point, these 5 out of Massachusetts, and that's just one family. It's a drop in the bucket. That is a lot of money to the state because they get massive funding from the federal government, from the Social Security Administration's Title 4E funding. If you reduce the caseload by 95%, guess what? The money dries up too. And this is how we're going to defund this stuff, is by reining this in. How do you take down an elephant right at them? One bite at a time. We're going to take a big swipe out of their budget. And it's going to be very uncomfortable for a lot of these parasitic organizations. And this nonsense that goes on, there's no incentive to reunify families if, in fact, they truly needed to be separated because it was something so catastrophic. There's not even an incentive to try and fix that. And in the cases where they steal the children, they clearly have no incentive. It's all financially to keep them separated and keep everybody in the system. So would definitely like to work with you on that. I hope you get into Congress because I love everything you're saying right now. I have a question for you on the disillusioned Americans. What do you say to Americans who feel like the system is just too rigged to fix?
It's not, and that's why I'm running for Congress. Everyone said you had to be a mayor. You have to go be a city councilman. You can't just run for Congress. Yes, I can. I filled out the Form 1 online and I hit enter. Here I am. Send me. Right? The problem is that you, as an American, have to take personal responsibility. If you don't like what's going on in your government and your representatives aren't doing what you asked them to do, it is your constitutional duty to replace them. Primary them. Do whatever it takes. And yeah, you might lose. You might get fought hard. They might try to destroy your name all over the internet, and that's fine. That's politics. But it is up to us as Americans to stop complaining on the internet, stop going on podcasts and whatever else and Twitter. I mean, that's great. It's fine. Is it fixing the system? No. We must remove them from power, and we have a way to do that. You run for office, or you find somebody that you can support who has moral and ethical standards, and that's why I'm doing this, is because I'm tired of the broken system. I don't want to be disillusioned, but if no one else is going to do it, then I guess I'm going to have to do it myself, and I hope everyone else follows me in that lead.
We need at least 400 more Adams running for Congress right now. We really, really do. I mean, actually, I like to see 535 of you between Senate and Congress, getting out there and getting this done. I do think there's going to be a lot of job openings coming open pretty soon, only because I think Maduro's arrest is really just a massive chinch in their armor. Somebody who can now squeal, somebody who knows where the bodies are buried, and someone who openly said Joe Biden was asking me to send Tren de Aragua, and they went right to your state, Adam.
My district.
And look at Tina Peters. That Tren de Aragua taking over apartments and Tina Peters is connected.
It absolutely isn't. That's literally District 8 in Colorado. This is the most contentious race in the United States right now. The Democrats are going to spend $30 million to try to flip this seat to blue, which they will, because my incumbent that I'm going against is a very weak Republican. He's unliked at this point, and that's why I'm running against him. It's like, hey, no offense. Thank you for your service. Nothing against you as a veteran and a former police officer, but you're not getting the job done. And we shouldn't just be supporting incumbents because they have letters next to their name. We need to be supporting Americans to put America first and bring back that rugged individualism that Mondani thinks should be replaced by warm collectivism. I just don't agree with that.
I agree. Last word to you before we let you sign off.
Well, I need all the support I can get, everybody. Here's the thing. I'm not bought out by special interests. I'm not supported by super PACs. I'm not supported by everyone else that's been running politics for decades. So please donate to my campaign, www.DeRito4Congress, DERITO.com, and shoot me some questions. Like, I'm a federal representative. Just because it's not just my district out state of Colorado doesn't mean I don't care about the American people. I want to fix the system. I want to be part of the solution and not the problem. And thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh my goodness. It's absolutely my pleasure. Thank you so much, Adam. You are a breath of fresh air. I really mean it when I say we need 535 of you running to primary and get these dirtbags out of there. We need a fresh start. We need to restore the republic. And it starts with people like you getting involved. So thank you very much. I know how you came into this through a mutual friend, and I'm glad that you both decided this was the best course of action for you to, go after next. And I wish you the best. You have my full endorsement. I think it's Colorado needs you. We need you.
I appreciate the endorsement. And like I said, let's do this.
All right, let's do it. Thanks so much, Adam. Bye. Wow. Okay. Holy cow. That was really an unexpected pleasure, to be honest. I've interviewed a lot of candidates, and in 8 years of doing this, I cannot recall one that is this articulate, having not actually been a true politician, because we all know, I think they must go to some sort of charm school to learn how to speak articulately and be so informed. But clearly he has, as he said, spent a lot of time in around DC, knows a lot of these folks, but he's also very determined because he is truly America first. And he understands industry, where a lot of these guys come in, they're attorneys and lawyers. Like we're not supposed to have these people representing us. Anyway. Okay. I want to play something because a friend of mine, Noel Fritz, dropped this in the chat. He runs the National File, and it's a clip of Alex Jones. And I just want to let you guys think about this, because this is just about how bad it is for some of the mainstream podcasters out there with the state of the country. And I think that, well, I think Alex says it best. So let me let him just play it out here. Sometimes when Alex gets on a rant, you just got to let him rant.
So Bondi's all panicking. And I can tell you, this is just a fact. I have it from, you name it, in the Justice Department, White House, every level, FBI, you name it. Many sources are public. Bondi just does her hair, goes to the spa. It's in D.C. 3 days a week, does Fox News hits, and lays out at the beach. Well, that's fine. You're not a warrior, sweetheart. You need to go away. Kash Patel is a little Hollywood wannabe star, twinkle toes around with his girlfriend, flying around on the giant FBI jet. He's happier than a pig, and you know what? He's not thinking about the destiny of this country. He needs to go. Bongino was asked to do things he knew were wrong. He followed the orders, but got out of there. So, to his credit, I don't think he'll be able to rehabilitate himself. He's finally resurfaced, criticizing the FBI and the DOJ. A day late, a dollar short, Bongino, because at the critical time, when you should just go public with everything, you still followed orders. That's not loyalty.
Don't follow illegal
orders. To the Republic.
That's right.
So I'll say you're the best house in a bad neighborhood of that group. And you have Ed Martin totally isolated with the thumb of Todd Blanche on him. Todd Blanche, a Democrat lawyer, is the real head of the DOJ. And that goes down to Trump yet again. Blanche represented him in a bunch of criminal cases, had one success because of the judge doing the right thing in Florida, throwing out the Mar-a-Lago raid stuff. That wasn't Todd Blanche. And because of that one success, Trump has that blind spot because he likes Todd Blanche, and Todd Blanche is on record sabotaging everything. And General Flynn has come out in a letter I'm going to read and said, if you don't take action now, and he knows how to talk to Trump, because Trump cares about the country, but it sees it tied to his own legacy. He says, your legacy will be one of ashes. Yeah.
So there you go. His legacy will be one of ashes. He's got to start listening to the people that helped him in the beginning, because the crew he has around him is really doing nothing but sabotaging. And right now we're sitting in a position where we have a guy, Nicolas Maduro, who knows everybody that was involved in the overthrowing of the United States government, a duly elected president. He was also involved, along with Hugo Chavez, the previous dictator, and of course the good group at Smartmatic and all the machines that they're in, Dominion, Sequoia, Hart, ESS, et cetera, in color revolutions, along with our CIA and other intelligence communities around the world, and overthrowing elections in 72 countries over the past 20 years. So it's not just here in America. It's been going on worldwide. And this is why we're seeing, protests erupting around the world. At the end of the day, there are far more of us, plebes and peons around the world compared to the elite governments. Give me a break. These jerks work for us, whether they live in a constitutional republic or not. They need to remember that they're serving the people, and they should be happy to serve the people, because it's the people that have given them the clout that they have today and the riches and the wealth. And we're done doing that, by the way. So, as I look at this whole thing, I just want to remind you guys, revolutions actually don't always come with barricades, right? There's not something stopping you. Sometimes all you need is a good old subpoena. Venezuela's resources didn't just suddenly appear. Election technology and concerns didn't just, come out of nowhere, suddenly emerge. Market manipulation, like what happened with our good friends at MMTLP and, of course, GameStop and AMC, Bed Bath Beyond, Trump Media, Technology Group, and on and on. Those things just didn't happen overnight. But what is new, what's happening right now, is the leverage. Because, baby, we are getting discovery. We have FOIA emails, in their own words, the demons over at the SEC colluding with Wall Street. You've got Maduro now, and he's going to start singing like a canary. So whether we're talking elections to intelligence agencies to Wall Street, systems built on opacity, guess what? They're being forced into the light. And that light is getting just a little bit uncomfortable. So to the communities harmed by the collusion, MMTLP, GameStop, AMC, Bed Bath Beyond, TMTG, I salute you. This moment is yours. I want to remind you again, January 12th. That's right, January 12th. We've got a big press conference coming up. I want to pull this up for you guys one more time, because I want you guys to see this in case you didn't see it the first time. January 12th, we are a go. We are a go for a press conference right there. SEC headquarters in Washington, D.C. The address is on my pinned tweet on Ann Vandersteel on X. So get over there, check out that post. Be there if you're part of any of those communities. If you've been harmed by the federal government, any of these agencies, be there, be loud, but be lawful. Because a free society doesn't fear inspection. Nope, we want everything out in the open. This time, discovery is not optional. The revolution is on. I'm Ann Vandersteel, folks, and the age of insulation is ending, and it is great to be here with you today. I appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule. It is now 50 minutes after the hour started. I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you again next time when I have something that I think you all need to hear. Good afternoon, everybody. Many of you have been asking, where am I getting the energy from? Where is the glow coming from? What's changed with your hair and skin? Well, simply in the last month, I started taking a product, C60 Evo. If you go to c60evo.com/Ann Vandersteel, you too can get radiant energy, mental focus with C60 Evo's ESS 60. What is it? That is pure C60. Get that increased flexibility, immunity, and longevity. And guess what, folks? It's not only for people too. You can get some for your pets. My animals are on it now. And that's right. I'm having trouble keeping up with Vegas, my dog, who I like to go on long walks with in the morning. He is battling back on the heat down here with his C60 Evo as well. Go to c60evo.com/Ann Vandersteel and try their delicious oils that you can eat and add into salads or put on your food, and also incredible facial serums and creams that are making a massive difference in the texture and feel of my skin. c60evo.com/Ann Vandersteel.